Hey, Matt Galogly here with SRP Medical Marketing, and welcome to our fifth and final key. And this one is what I call understanding lifetime value, or the lifetime value of a patient. Now, what is lifetime value of a patient? Well, lifetime value of a patient is exactly that. Most doctors have what's called an open system. They bring patients in and they do a procedure and they spin back out, never hoping that they come back. What we really want to do is we want to create a closed system, which is what we talked about in monthly recurring revenue. It's one of the ways we do it. And monthly recurring revenue is they come in, but they stay in, they never leave, okay? So this is understanding lifetime value will help you understand the power of creating that long-term relationship. So I have a spreadsheet. I love spreadsheets. So let me just bring this up here. And I think that this is going to really kind of open your eyes to a couple of things. So this is a simple revenue projection spreadsheet that I use. And this top part really just shows you, based on how much money you want to make per month, how much revenue you want to drive per month, it will tell you how many leads you need to have coming in each and every single month. So for example, in this case, if you wanted to do $24,000 per month and your average revenue per transaction was $1,500, one of our key metrics that we monitor, and you understood that your cost to acquire a patient was $250. That's a pretty standard number if it's a high price thing, and that number can go up or down. But again, later on in a bonus video, I can actually talk more about cost to acquire a patient, but let's just leave it there that it's $250, okay? So if I want to do $24,000, I need to do 16 patient transactions in a month, which means that weekly I need to have 16 new inquiries. I need to have number of appointments booked, 11, patients seen. This is all based on sign up rate, okay? So I'm gonna have to spend about $4,000 a month to do that. And you might say, Matt, I do more with spending less. That's fine. This is based on our experiences of what we see. So again, let's say you want to do $50,000 a month, which is really a baseline of where most practices should be. Again, you can see here that you need to be getting 7 new inquiries per day, probably budgeting right around $8,000 to $9,000 to really get that level of high quality patients coming in. But that's not where I want to focus. Where I want to focus is this number right here. And what I'm going to do, let's just say that you're doing $65,000 a month, which again is a lot of the practices I talk to are doing $50,000 to $65,000 a month on average, some bigger months, less months, okay? So let me do this. There we go. So now you can see. Okay, so now in this instance, what we have, you're going to see here, this requires an investment of right around $10,000 per month. Again, that number can fluctuate. This is an estimate. There's a lot of different factors that go into that, but this is a good starting point, okay? But what this tells us is 2 key numbers. This number right here gives us our lost monthly recurring revenue, which is what I went over in key number 4. If you haven't watched that video, go back. And you're going to see that you're losing monthly $1,700 per month of putting people into monthly recurring revenue. And that in 12 months, based on this flow, you should be generating right at $20,000 per month in monthly recurring revenue. But look at this number right here. This number is even more important. This is what I call the monthly acres of diamonds. And this tells us specifically, acres of diamonds is the amount of money that is left behind, okay? We all have what are known as acres of diamonds in our practice. And this acres of diamond means that because we don't have a way to continually nurture our customer, we are actually leaving money on the table behind, okay? So how do we come to this number? Well, how do we get to these numbers, and how do we get to, where's the basis of these numbers? So the basis of these numbers come from a very simple transaction that we developed. And understanding lifetime value is that once a patient comes into a door, whatever they spend with you on that first procedure, that first transaction, so let's say they spend $1,000 with you, a patient should be with you for 7 years. Take that number of what they spend with you, and that's multiplied by 7. That means of that initial $1,000 that they spend over the next 7 years, they should spend another $7,000 with you. Now understand that your acquisition cost for that patient is gone. It's a sunk cost. So now you want to liquidate that lead as much as you possibly can, which is one of the reasons why we put them on monthly recurring revenue. That number of lifetime value actually increases, by the way, if you have monthly recurring revenue. So I want you to think about this. If they have a successful treatment on their face, laser, they certainly should be coming back for at least 2 more, right? You can't leave that to chance. You've got to have a process in place by which to do that, okay? If they are coming in for you with regards to, say, they've got a knee or joint issue, well, they most likely have low testosterone because they haven't been able to exercise. And so they really need to be on some kind of HRT protocol. That's generally what you're going to find. I bet that you find that a lot of those patients have very low testosterone. And if they're also dealing with joint issues, and you're doing stem cell and things like that, you could sell them hair. You've already regrown their tissue in their knee or their meniscus. So you can do hair restoration. You use growth factor for that. You can do, if they're women and they're coming in and they're probably have these joint issues and they're 45, 50 plus, you know that they're going to have HRT. You know that they probably have pretty good chance they have some vaginal dryness or urinary incontinence. So if you're utilizing a laser, if they want to do facial laser, all of these things are available. Okay, so you have to create what's known as a patient life cycle, which that's another topic for another day. But this lifetime value changes things. Okay, I'll tell you a quick little story in this. And we figured out in the ED space, and I figured this out basically in all of my businesses, what is the lifetime value of a customer slash patient? Once I understand that number, it changes the way that I think about customer acquisition. In a lot of cases, I'll just go and break even in the short term because I'll have systems in place to upgrade a patient over time. And within 3 to 6 months, I'm making a lot more off of that customer or patient. Again, this is all based on that they need the procedures. I'm not selling unneeded procedures, or my doctors aren't, I should say, because I'm not a doctor. But we want to make sure that we're upgrading them and putting them into a customer journey. A lot of different ways you can do that. You can ask them questions about what else are they looking to fix? Their life events. Do they have weddings? Did they just get divorced? Did somebody die? Did they just come in? What's going on in their life? There's all kinds of life events. Did all the kids just leave the house and now they're empty nest and their husband and wife are looking at each other going, now what? Again, all these things that we can do in order to increase the lifetime value of that patient. So that's it. That's lifetime value, and those are the 5 keys. Last thing I want to remind you is that if you have not taken advantage of booking a 20-minute consultation with me to talk about your practice and how each one of these keys apply to your practice and how to implement it, please request an appointment. Their links are in the email or on these videos. And I would love to sit down on the phone and talk with you for 20 minutes about your practice and how to get your practice consistently doing well over 6 figures a month. If you're already doing 6 figures a month, then let's talk about how we can grow that and take you to 200,000+ per month and beyond. All right, I'll talk to you soon. You have a great day. Thank you so much.